Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I've got a review to do for you. This is the Prince Customs Protean. I think it's Protean. I'm not positive how to say it, if I'm honest. Maybe Princeton, who's the guy behind Prince Customs, has somewhere where he explains the pronunciation. I haven't checked. I just love this thing. And so I wanted to do a video just kind of like sharing how much I've really been appreciating this knife. So if you're familiar with me and my tastes, if you followed my channel for a while, as much as it's become sparse lately, you'll know that I have some pretty defined preferences. I don't really hold back on what my preferences are. I have some like definite favorites that I've shared a lot about over time. Like if you know me, you probably know I'm a big fan of the Koenig Arius, and now the Mini Arius I like as well. I don't have one at the moment because I sold the one I have because I want to get a non-flipper. Anyways, I have some full-size Ariuses still, but I don't have a Mini at the moment. I'm a huge fan of that knife, and I have really raved about it on a number of occasions in a number of different ways. This is the first knife that I've come across in the last few years. Other than things that I've designed, shameless plug. I really love my own knives, that's obvious, but this is like the first contender that has come up for me that has made me like not carry an Arius when I'm reaching for something that isn't one of my knives, especially as a primary like front right pocket carry. Sorry, I have a bit of a cough. Anyway, now that I'm done coughing. So, I don't know that I could say confidently that this like dethrones the Arius for me. I don't think it needs to. I love and adore the Koenig Arius. I think it's an incredible knife. I think it holds up. I think it stood for me the test of time. It's something that I love. I've loved now for years and still love, and all that's still true. But this sucker, holy crap. I was excited to get one of these and try it. I bought this knife at Blade Show, so I've had it now for a couple of months, and I've carried it a piss ton. I carry this thing a lot and I use it a ton. It's a super user finish. He had a few different like anodization colors of these, and that was kind of it. I guess he had some Damasteel ones too. I'm not really that kind of guy. This one's in Magnacut, plain tie scales that are just stonewashed everything except for the hardware, which is kind of satin. And it is a perfect user build for me. It's also a perfect user size, especially in summer. I'm filming this in August. I've had this during the window of summer so far, and the fact that it's virtually waterproof because it's Magnacut and Titanium, the fact that it's fairly small and compact and carries small and compact, the fact that it's super light for being a full titanium build has made it just like, if there's a knife that defines my summer of 2024, this is it. This has been the knife that has made it in pocket the absolute most. In a typical day for me lately, I run most mornings, and so I'm carrying like a carbon fiber AVNT for that usually because it's a wire clip, ultralight, and I can carry it in my waistband even if my running shorts don't have pockets, and that's like my morning run knife. After that, it has, generally speaking, 5 days a week at least, been this that goes in pocket for the rest of the day. Whether I'm in shorts or pants, whatever it is, this thing just carries like an absolute dream, and it cuts like a freaking wizard. And it works for my hands, it works in my pocket, it works for all of my cutting tasks extremely well, and I adore it. So if I had to pick like a knife of the year for 2024, right now, which sure, I'll just go ahead and do that because I'm probably not going to do it later. It's this. This knife is incredible, and it's smaller than a regular Arius. It's a little bigger than a Mini Arius, but it doesn't feel it. It carries, frankly, as small as a Mini Arius, and it's like it's a Goldilocks size. It's a Goldilocks weight. It's a Goldilocks knife. This thing deserves so much attention. I'm just thrilled with it. So let's talk about some of the things that I love. This might not be like the most comprehensive, specs heavy tabletop type of review. That's not what I do here, nor do I care about that as much, but I'm just going to share what I love about it. So first things first, the action on this thing is bananas. You can see we've got just a slot for deployment. It goes onto both sides. So it's basically a hole that doesn't pass through. And middle finger flicking this thing is money. It's super crisp on the detent. It's just the right amount of pressure. I've never had it fail a deployment. It just pops and it's perfect. It sounds good. It feels good. It's reliable. I find really quickly with this knife, I was at a point with it like almost immediately where drawing it from a pocket, not even looking at it, like if I'm holding onto something with one hand, drawing to cut with the other, looking at what I'm cutting, not at the knife, I can get it out, deploy it, index it, and know right where my hand is, where the edge is, where everything about it is. And that starts with the action, right? If you struggle to open a knife, you're going to need to look at it to open it. And so the fact that this comes out, draws, gets ready to use, and is right where I need it to be every time I need it to be there, oh, it's money. So love that. The blade profile, this thing's like all smudgy at the moment because I used the piss out of it, but it's a nice, deep, tall, hollow grind. So it's stupid thin behind the edge. I love the blade profile where you've got kind of some flat that's like just barely even curved at all down here. And then you've got a nice belly and a real pronounced tip. This tip is mean, by the way. I've done a ton of work with this knife and it eats it up. It's just, this blade profile is like so good at actual cutting tasks that I'm elated with it. Every time I cut with it, I love it. I'm pretty sure he's CNCing these bevels because I can see machine marks. It's really impressive. All of the fact that he makes these Princeton from Prince Customs and sells them for, I think I paid like $750 for this knife, something like that. That sounds like an absurd amount to people who are uninitiated in the hobby. If you're watching this, you're probably someone who gets it. That compared to other knives that cost this much, like it is so much value for your money, in my opinion, at a kind of, like, I guess you'd call this a machine assisted custom. I don't know if you would call it a full custom. It's in the realm of customs. This is not like a production knife that's coming out of a factory. This thing is bananas for $750 or whatever it is. I think the ones with Damasteel went up a decent bit from there, but I paid somewhere in between $700 and $800 if I remember correctly. And this knife I think would be worth it at $1,000, at $1,100 or $1,200. Another knife that I think should be in this conversation, frankly, is the Rosie. I adore the Roosevelt. I've talked about that a million times. The Oz Machine Company Roosevelt is a phenomenal knife. And Daniel behind Oz Machine Company is an awesome dude. I've met him a few times. Every conversation I've had with him is great. I love him, love his knives. He's awesome. I shouldn't say I love him. I don't know the guy well enough to know him, but I really like him and I think he's cool. This, I think, should be given the same level of like sought afterness. And I haven't been keeping super close tabs on like the Instagram world of knives lately, especially because Instagram for knives is kind of becoming like a terrible place. But Rosies are super sought after. And for a long time, probably still the case, it was really hard to get one from a drop. On the secondary, they were even more difficult to get unless you wanted to really overpay to get it. They were hard knives to get. This, I think, if this isn't there right now, I would imagine it will be soon if more people catch on. Assuming I'm not just the crazy guy with isolated tastes. This thing is as good at cutting as any Roosevelt I've owned. I've had a couple. Still have one. I would say like blade geometry, actually, I slightly prefer this. The hollow on this just sings through stuff. The size and weight, I think, is virtually almost as comfortable to carry as the Rosie. The only slight advantage I'd give to the Rosie is that for at least, I haven't put calipers on them, but the Rosie feels a hair thinner in pocket than this does. This feels a little bit thicker, like a little bit more of a chunk width-wise than the Rosie does. But they both feel light. They both feel compact in pocket. And where the Rosie feels a little thinner in pocket, it also feels a little thinner in hand. This feels a little more hand filling in the width department in a good way. So this thing, like, it's the knife that makes me as excited as the Arius and the Roosevelt. If anything, it almost kind of feels like a blend between an Arius and a Roosevelt, in a weird way for me. And that's a perfect meeting grounds for a wonderful, wonderful knife. So anyway, I don't remember where I was. Blade geometry is phenomenal. Deployment is absolutely incredible. In terms of like drop shuttiness, the other half of action, it's not super drop shutty. I mean, it'll drop to my thumb, no problem. And then you got to kind of shake it shut. I usually, frankly, these days, just disengage the lock and then roll it shut with my fingers. That's become the way that I interface with this knife, and I love it. I love the feel of it. I love that it's smooth all the way along. There's no grit to this system. It's wonderful. The lockup is perfect. There's no play in any direction, absolutely whatsoever. And disengaging the lock bar is super easy, yet it's still very locked up. Like, it is money. The internals on this are incredible. There's a ton of internal milling, which is part of what keeps it so light. This one, I'm just realizing this is numbered. This one is number 51. And the Prince Customs Protean. And this one was made in May of 2024. So fairly new model for him. I think these had only been out for a couple months, if that, when I got it. So really, really, I love this thing. Okay, so ergos for me are just awesome. I get two fingers kind of up in this forward groove, if you will, and then my next two fingers land back here where the handle thickens up a little bit. The fact that you have this generous groove up front really kind of locks the knife in, because you find that swell behind it and your hand just naturally pulls it like into your palm. And then this back section right here where it lands in my palm is super comfortable for my hand. So it indexes in a hammer grip incredibly well. Sorry, that would be a saber grip. And a hammer grip, also super comfortable if you're kind of pushing through things. In a draw cut, it's really comfortable. I can pull cut through anything I need with this, and it feels great. In a reverse grip, it almost feels like it was designed to be in a reverse grip, because the way my thumb wraps around here, the way I get just such a good, positive grip on this thing, it's great. Reverse grip draw cut, even that is comfortable. Which brings me to another part of why every grip feels great on this knife is because of this pocket clip. The pocket clip is milled titanium, just like the body. It runs pretty deep carry for a milled titanium clip. I love the way this knife sits in pocket. There's not a ton sticking out, but it's so like part of the handle that it just feels like more of the knife. It doesn't feel like a clip separate from the knife that's butting into my hand. It feels like part of the handle of the knife, and that is genius. It feels really, really good. I honestly think, like, I don't know how he does all of his clips, Prince Customs. This feels a little oversized to me when you look at it compared to the knife. Like, there's definitely much smaller clips, pound for pound, than this guy. But because of its size, I think that's part of what makes it feel so much like part of the handle in a really good way. And so it's genius. I love it. All right, so it carries incredibly well. The ergos are fantastic. It cuts like an absolute wizard with a laser. Its action is fantastic. It looks really cool. I love the looks of this knife. I think it is like simple yet interesting, if that makes any sense at all. The blade is gorgeous. The handle profile looks great. It looks great both open and closed. So aesthetically, if you're someone who cares about aesthetics, which I do, I think it looks really good. It's not like an ugly, weird thing that like, oh, when you hold it, it starts to make sense. It's also just like pretty. This thing it's bananas. It's nuts. I don't know at the moment what availability is like on these. I'll link to Prince Customs, at least his Instagram or his website, whatever I can find that'll be down below in the description of this video. He didn't give me this knife. I paid for it. I haven't really talked to him much other than brief interactions at shows. He's a super nice guy. I like him. I had one of his slidey, locky auto things too, and that was cool, but it like didn't have staying power for me. This does. This is an absolute winner. I would have a really, really hard time letting go of this knife. Someone would have to offer me an insane amount of money, and then I'd be taking that money and hoping to get another one on a drop if that's how they're working right now or whatever. It's really exceptional, and I'm stoked about it. So anyways, this is the Prince Customs Protean, however you pronounce it. It's incredible. It's a winner. It's, for me, my knife of the year this year. It's just really, really good, and I'm obsessed with it. I really, really like it, and so it's worth sharing with you guys. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.